A brilliant black teen, denied a well-deserved scholarship by a corrupt and prejudiced mayor, refuses to back down. Just when the odds seem insurmountable, Trump steps in to expose the injustice and turn the tables in an unexpected way. This powerful story of resilience and redemption will keep you hooked till the very end. Elijah Williams, a 17-year-old boy with big dreams, stood in his modest bedroom surrounded by blueprints, circuits, and half-assembled gadgets. His eyes gleamed with passion as he adjusted the small robotic arm he had built from scratch, a project that had won him first place at the state science fair just weeks ago. Elijah, a gifted black teenager living in the quiet southern town of Pinehurst, had a rare combination of talent and determination that set him apart. From an early age, Elijah had dreamed of becoming an aerospace engineer. He wanted to design aircraft that could break barriers, just as he hoped to do in his own life. His single mother, Denise, often reminded him of his potential, despite the systemic challenges they faced in Pinehurst, a town steeped in tradition and, unfortunately, lingering prejudices. Elijah was a star student at Pinehurst High. Teachers often marveled at his aptitude for math and science, while peers admired his ability to stay humble despite his numerous accomplishments. Over the years, he had won multiple awards, including robotics competitions and science fairs, and had even interned at a local engineering firm. The annual Pinehurst Future Leaders Scholarship was the final piece of the puzzle for Elijah's dream of attending the prestigious Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT). The scholarship, funded by the town and overseen by Mayor Richard Tate, was a life-changing opportunity, awarding $50,000 to a deserving student each year. Elijah worked tirelessly on his application, crafting an essay that spoke of his dream to create technology that could uplift underprivileged communities. His mother stayed up with him late into the night, proofreading every sentence and reminding him how proud she was. For Elijah, winning the scholarship wasn't just about money, it was about validation in a town where opportunities often felt out of reach for families like his. On the surface, Mayor Richard Tate was the epitome of small-town leadership, charismatic, wealthy, and deeply entrenched in Pinehurst's social fabric. Known for hosting lavish fundraisers and making grand speeches about community development, Tate had maintained his grip on Pinehurst politics for over a decade. But beneath the polished facade lay a man driven by power and prejudice. Tate had a long history of favoring certain families, wealthy, white, and influential, while quietly undermining others. The scholarship, while publicly touted as a merit-based opportunity, often went to students who fit Tate's ideal image of Pinehurst's future: clean-cut, privileged, and unthreatening to the status quo. The day Elijah submitted his scholarship application, he couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. Dressed in a crisp white shirt and tie, he handed over the envelope to the secretary at Town Hall, who gave him a polite but distant smile. Denise waited for him in their aging sedan, her warm smile filling him with confidence. "You've got this," she said, squeezing his hand. "They can't ignore how amazing you are." But as Elijah walked away from the building, he noticed Mayor Tate standing near the door, chatting with a group of local businessmen. Tate's sharp eyes landed on Elijah for a brief moment, scanning him with a look that was hard to decipher. Elijah offered a polite nod, but Tate's smile was thin, almost condescending. Little did Elijah know, his application had already been mentally dismissed by the man who held the power to change his life. A week later, Elijah and his mother sat in their living room, anxiously awaiting the announcement of the scholarship recipient. The town's annual awards banquet was being broadcast live on the local news channel, and Elijah's heart raced as the host began listing the finalists. When his name wasn't called, a pang of disappointment hit him, but he held out hope for the winner's announcement. However, when the host declared the winner, Bryce Tate, the mayor's nephew, Elijah's heart sank. Bryce was an average student, known more for his football skills than his academics. Denise clenched her fists, her voice trembling with anger. "This isn't right. Everyone knows you deserve that scholarship." Elijah sat in stunned silence, the weight of the injustice settling over him. The mayor's subtle racism had struck again. But this time, it wasn't just about losing a scholarship, it was about being told, once again, that he didn't belong. As Elijah's eyes filled with tears, Denise placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Don't give up, baby. We'll figure this out." Unbeknownst to Elijah, his journey was just beginning, and the quiet resolve in his heart would soon lead him to take a stand that would shake Pinehurst to its core. The air buzzed with excitement as families and students gathered in the Pinehurst Town Hall for the annual awards banquet. The stage was adorned with banners reading "Future Leader Scholarship" in bold letters, and the room was filled with the scent of fresh flowers and catered hors d'oeuvres. This event was the highlight of the year, showcasing Pinehurst's brightest students and their potential to represent the town on a larger stage. Elijah sat at a table near the back with his mother, Denise, and his best friend, Jordan. His palms were damp as he clutched the program, scanning it nervously. It listed all the finalists, and his name was right there, Elijah Williams. "You've got this," Jordan whispered with a grin. Denise nodded in agreement, her eyes full of pride. "Just remember, no matter what happens, you're already a winner to me." Elijah smiled but couldn't shake the tension in his chest. He had worked so hard for this moment, and the scholarship wasn't just an award, it was the key to his dreams of attending MIT. As the speeches wrapped up, Mayor Richard Tate took the stage, his polished demeanor and charming smile captivating the crowd. Dressed in an immaculate suit, he adjusted the microphone and addressed the audience. "Tonight we celebrate the future of Pinehurst, our youth, our hope, our pride," he began, his voice dripping with charisma. "And now it is my honor to announce the recipient of this year's Future Leader Scholarship." Elijah sat up straighter, his heart pounding. "The 2023 Future Leaders Scholarship goes to..." The mayor paused for dramatic effect, his gaze sweeping the crowd before landing on the front row. "Bryce Tate." The room erupted in applause, but at Elijah's table the world seemed to stop. Bryce, the mayor's nephew, jumped up from his seat, grinning ear to ear as his family cheered loudly. Elijah froze, the sound of clapping muffled as if he were underwater. His mind raced, replaying every late night, every competition, and every effort he had poured into his dreams. Bryce? The same Bryce who barely passed his classes and spent more time at parties than studying? Denise's expression darkened as she looked at her son, her hand gripping his arm. "This can't be right," she muttered. As Bryce bounded up to the stage to accept his award, Mayor Tate placed a hand on his nephew's shoulder, beaming with pride. "This young man embodies the values of Pinehurst integrity, hard work, and a commitment to excellence," the mayor declared. Elijah's jaw tightened. The words stung not just for their hypocrisy but for their calculated intent. After the ceremony, as attendees mingled, Elijah worked up the courage to approach Mayor Tate. "Excuse me, sir," Elijah said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. The mayor turned, his smile polite but condescending. "Ah, Elijah, right? What can I do for you?" "I just wanted to ask, was there something wrong with my application?" Elijah's question was earnest, his tone respectful. The mayor's smile tightened. "Oh, not at all. Your application was impressive. But you see, this scholarship isn't just about academics. It's about representing Pinehurst's image, and we felt Bryce was a better fit." The words hit Elijah like a punch to the gut. A better fit? What did that even mean? Back at their table, Denise fumed as Elijah recounted the mayor's response. "That man is unbelievable," she said, her voice shaking. "You work twice as hard as anyone else here, and this is how they treat you." Jordan leaned in. "This is beyond unfair. It's blatant favoritism." Around them, a few other attendees murmured their agreement, but no one was willing to openly challenge the mayor. His influence was too powerful, and his word was law in Pinehurst. As they left the banquet, Elijah's shoulders slumped. He felt humiliated, as though all his hard work had been for nothing. The weight of disappointment pressed down on him, and for the first time in a long while, he questioned whether his dreams were worth pursuing in a town like this. Denise placed a comforting hand on his back as they walked to their car. "We'll fight this, Elijah," she said softly. "You've come too far to let someone like him take this away from you." Elijah nodded, but the fire in his heart was dim. He couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how hard he tried, the system was rigged against him. That night, as he sat at his desk staring at the rejection letter, something shifted in Elijah. The sadness gave way to a quiet determination. He began drafting an open letter, detailing his experience and the injustice he faced. He didn't know who would listen, but he refused to stay silent. Little did he know, his words would set off a chain of events that would not only change his life, but also expose the corruption hidden beneath Pinehurst's polished exterior. Elijah sat at his desk, his rejection letter crumpled in his hand, but the fire in his heart burned brighter than ever. The mayor's words, "a better fit," echoed in his mind, igniting a resolve he hadn't felt before. He refused to let this injustice define his future or silence his voice. The next day at school, Elijah shared his story with his science teacher, Mrs. Carter, a longtime mentor who had guided him through countless projects and competitions. Her face darkened with anger as he recounted the mayor's dismissive remarks. "This isn't just about the scholarship, Elijah," she said, her voice firm. "It's about what's right. You've worked too hard to let this go." Word spread quickly. Students who admired Elijah for his achievements rallied around him, signing petitions and organizing a small protest outside Town Hall. Local activists, including members of the Pinehurst Community Action Group, reached out to offer their support. At the same time, the mayor's allies, wealthy families and influential business owners, dismissed Elijah's claims, accusing him of stirring up unnecessary trouble. Tensions in Pinehurst began to rise, dividing the town into two camps: those who believed in Elijah's fight for justice and those who stood by Mayor Tate, unwilling to challenge the status quo. In the town square, a small group gathered for a peaceful demonstration in support of Elijah. Signs reading "Justice for Elijah" and "Merit over Favoritism" waved in the air. But not everyone was on Elijah's side. At a nearby cafe, a group of older residents shook their heads as they watched the protest from a distance. "This town doesn't need a troublemaker," one man muttered. "The mayor knows what's best." A young woman sitting nearby spoke up. "It's not troublemaking to demand fairness," she said, glaring at the group. Elijah earned that scholarship. The divide was becoming clearer with each passing day, and Pinehurst was no longer the quiet town it had once been. Amid the growing tension, a regional journalist named Rebecca Alvarez caught wind of Elijah's story. Known for her investigative reporting on small-town politics, Rebecca decided to dig deeper into the scholarship process. During her initial research, Rebecca uncovered troubling patterns. Over the past 5 years, every scholarship recipient had ties to the mayor or his closest allies. She began contacting past applicants, many of whom shared stories similar to Elijah's: highly qualified students overlooked in favor of less deserving candidates. Rebecca reached out to Elijah for an interview. Sitting across from her at a local diner, he shared his story with quiet determination. "I'm not just doing this for me," Elijah said, his voice steady. "I'm doing it for every kid who's been told they don't belong, no matter how hard they work." Rebecca's instincts told her there was more to the story, and she vowed to uncover the truth. Inspired by the growing support, Elijah decided it was time to take his fight beyond Pinehurst. He spent an entire night writing an open letter titled "A Better Fit for Who." In it, he detailed his achievements, the rejection, and the mayor's subtle but unmistakable bias. His words were raw and powerful. "This isn't just about a scholarship, it's about the message we send to kids like me, that no matter how hard we work, we'll never be enough because of the way we look. Pinehurst deserves better. We deserve better." With the help of his peers, Elijah shared the letter online, tagging influential figures, journalists, and even former President Donald Trump. Within hours, Elijah's letter began to gain traction. Friends and supporters shared it across social media, tagging local and national influencers. Comments poured in from people across the state, many expressing outrage over the injustice. Heartbreaking but not surprising, one comment read, "This happens far too often." Unbeknownst to Elijah, his letter had caught the attention of someone powerful, someone who understood what it meant to face criticism and fight for what was right. Elijah didn't know it yet, but his words were about to reach Donald Trump, and the quiet boy from Pinehurst would soon find himself at the center of a movement that would change his life forever. The morning Elijah's life change began like any other. He woke to the faint hum of birds outside his window and the comforting aroma of coffee brewing in the kitchen. As he sat at the table with his mother scrolling through his phone, he froze. His open letter, shared by hundreds of friends, strangers, and supporters, now bore a new name in the comments: Donald J. Trump. The former president, known for his quick and unfiltered responses to social issues, had retweeted Elijah's letter with a powerful message. "Merit should always triumph over prejudice. This young man deserves justice, and I will personally ensure his voice is heard. Stay tuned, Pinehurst." Elijah stared at the screen, his heart racing. Denise placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Elijah," he noticed. "Trump noticed you." Within hours, Trump made a formal statement during an event in New York City. Standing at a podium with reporters buzzing around him, he addressed the injustice with characteristic fervor. Stories like Elijah's remind us of what America is supposed to stand for: opportunity, fairness, and the idea that anyone can succeed if they work hard enough, Trump declared. "What happened in Pinehurst is not only unfair but un-American. I'm going to make sure we get to the bottom of this." His words reverberated across the country, sparking debates on news channels and social media. The story became a trending topic within hours, with hashtags like "Justice for Elijah" and merit matters gaining traction. Back in Pinehurst, the atmosphere was electric. At the local diner, televisions played Trump's statement on a loop, with residents murmuring in awe or indignation. At one table, a group of young supporters whispered excitedly, "This is huge. Elijah's story is everywhere now." Across the room, a group of the mayor's allies frowned, exchanging nervous glances. One muttered, "This is going to ruin Tate. He can't hide anymore." Mayor Richard Tate sat in his office, his tie loosened and his face pale. The walls, once adorned with plaques and photos of his accomplishments, now felt like they were closing in on him. His secretary entered, holding a stack of papers. "More reporters are calling, sir," she said hesitantly. "They're asking about the scholarship process and about Bryce." Tate slammed his fist on the desk. "Tell them no comment. We need to get ahead of this." But it was too late. Local journalists had unearthed years of questionable scholarship decisions, and Rebecca Alvarez, the regional journalist who first took interest in Elijah's story, was publishing damning evidence of favoritism and corruption in the mayor's administration. National news outlets picked up the story, with headlines like, "Small-town scandal merit denied in Pinehurst. Trump weighs in on scholarship bias, sparks national debate." Social media buzzed with comments. "Pinehurst deserves to be investigated. This is blatant corruption. So proud of Elijah for speaking out." Change starts with voices like his. Trump stepping in? Never saw that coming, but good for him. Support poured in for Elijah from across the country. Scholarships, mentorship offers, and job opportunities began flooding his inbox. Amid the chaos, Trump's team reached out to Elijah directly. A professional but warm voice on the other end of the line introduced herself as a senior advisor. "Elijah, we've read your letter and seen the injustice you've faced. Mr. Trump would like to meet with you personally to discuss how we can support you and ensure accountability in Pinehurst," she said. Elijah's heart raced. "Are you serious?" "He wants to meet me." "Yes," the advisor replied. "And not just that, he wants to visit Pinehurst and bring this issue to light." A week later, Pinehurst buzzed with anticipation as Trump's motorcade rolled into town. The streets were lined with reporters, supporters, and skeptics alike, all eager to witness what would happen next. Elijah stood in the community center, his hands nervously clasped, as the doors opened. Trump entered, his presence commanding but his demeanor surprisingly warm. He extended a hand to Elijah with a smile. "You're a brave young man," Trump said. "What you've done here is incredible." Elijah shook his hand, the gravity of the moment sinking in. For the first time since his rejection, he felt truly seen and valued. During the meeting, Trump listened intently as Elijah recounted his journey and the barriers he faced. Trump then turned to the gathered reporters and made a bold promise. "This stops now. No more bias, no more backdoor deals. This young man represents the future, and I will make sure justice is served." As the press conference concluded, the room erupted in applause. Elijah stood beside Trump, his confidence renewed, knowing that his fight for fairness was no longer just his own, it was now a movement. Unbeknownst to Elijah, this was only the beginning. The next steps would not only expose the mayor's corruption, but also transform Pinehurst forever. The atmosphere in Pinehurst was already tense, but Rebecca Alvarez's bombshell report sent shockwaves through the town. The investigation, published on the front page of the regional paper and shared across national news outlets, laid bare Mayor Richard Tate's years of corruption. Rebecca's months of painstaking research had paid off. Documents obtained through anonymous sources revealed a damning trail. Scholarship funds meant for deserving students were rerouted to accounts tied to Tate's relatives and close political allies. In some cases, funds were used to finance lavish vacations and personal expenses, including renovations to Tate's sprawling home. Bryce Tate, the mayor's nephew and the most recent scholarship recipient, had been awarded funds despite never submitting a formal application. The article included interviews with whistleblowers, anonymous town officials, and past scholarship applicants who had been unfairly dismissed. Rebecca's most shocking revelation came in the form of a leaked email exchange between the mayor and the scholarship committee. In it, Tate blatantly instructed members to prioritize candidates who fit the town's image, a thinly veiled euphemism for racial and socioeconomic bias. The story spread like wildfire. Pinehurst residents woke up to headlines screaming mayor's corruption exposed years of embezzlement and favoritism, and news anchors dissecting the scandal on live television. Social media erupted with fury. How could we let this happen under our noses? Elijah deserved that scholarship, not Tate's nephew. Trump stepping in was the best thing to happen to this town. Time for real change. Outside Town Hall, a protest grew steadily throughout the day. Dozens of residents gathered, holding signs that read "Justice for Elijah and Tate must go." Some of the mayor's staunchest supporters began to distance themselves. Local business owners who had once proudly displayed photos of themselves with Tate quietly took them down. Meanwhile, Trump's legal team wasted no time. With the help of Elijah's supporters and Rebecca's evidence, they filed a lawsuit against Mayor Tate on behalf of the town and the scholarship program. At a televised press conference, Trump's senior advisor, flanked by Elijah and Rebecca, addressed the media. "This is not just about one scholarship," she said firmly. "This is about restoring integrity to Pinehurst and ensuring that every deserving student has a fair shot." The announcement was met with applause from supporters gathered outside. Trump himself issued another public statement. "This is why we can't tolerate corruption, especially when it robs our brightest young minds of their future. We're not just fighting for Elijah, we're fighting for every kid who deserves a chance." Mayor Tate, once a towering figure in Pinehurst, now found himself cornered. Reporters hounded him at every turn, and town hall meetings devolved into shouting matches as angry residents demanded his resignation. At a hastily arranged press conference, Tate attempted to deny the allegations. His voice quivered as he dismissed the evidence as politically motivated lies. But the damage was done. As more evidence surfaced, including bank statements and emails, Tate's lies unraveled. His allies began to turn on him, with one committee member publicly admitting, "We were pressured to follow his orders. I regret not speaking up sooner." With Trump's legal team spearheading the effort, Elijah's case against the scholarship committee became the focal point of national attention. Elijah, once a quiet teen from a small town, found himself at the center of interviews and discussions about systemic injustice. Denise watched proudly as her son spoke on live television. "This was never just about me," Elijah said, his voice steady. "It's about creating a system where hard work and talent are what matter, not who you know or where you come from." As Tate's grip on Pinehurst slipped, the town began to rally around Elijah. The same neighbors who had once stayed silent now spoke out, sharing their own stories of being overlooked or dismissed by the mayor's administration. Local businesses offered to sponsor scholarships for students like Elijah, and the Pinehurst Community Action Group saw a surge in membership. At a town hall meeting, a middle-aged resident stood up, her voice trembling with emotion. "We owe Elijah an apology," she said. "And we owe it to ourselves to make Pinehurst a place where everyone has a fair shot." Her words were met with thunderous applause. As the lawsuit progressed, Tate faced mounting legal troubles. Federal investigators opened a case against him for embezzlement, and the town council voted unanimously to remove him from office. The once proud mayor was now a symbol of greed and prejudice, his legacy in ruins. His name, once synonymous with power in Pinehurst, became a cautionary tale of how corruption and arrogance can lead to downfall. Elijah's fight had sparked a reckoning, and Pinehurst would never be the same. The courtroom was packed as the judge announced the final decision. Elijah Williams, the talented teen whose story had captivated a nation, was awarded the Pinehurst Scholarship, the opportunity he had rightfully earned. The announcement was met with applause, not just from his family and friends, but from the wider community that had come to support him. For Elijah, this was more than a scholarship, it was a validation of his hard work, resilience, and unyielding determination in the face of injustice. As Elijah accepted his scholarship certificate at a special community ceremony, the crowd erupted into cheers. Standing on stage, Elijah addressed the audience with a mix of pride and humility. "This isn't just my win," he said, his voice steady but emotional. "This is a win for everyone who has ever been told they're not enough because of how they look or where they come from. Together, we've shown that merit matters." His mother, Denise, stood in the front row, tears streaming down her face as she watched her son shine. Elijah's victory didn't stop with the scholarship. A week later, he stood alongside former President Trump at a televised event in Washington, D.C. Trump, known for his bold and direct statements, praised Elijah's courage and the community's efforts to fight back against corruption. Elijah's story is proof that when we stand together against injustice, real change happens, Trump said, placing a hand on Elijah's shoulder. "This young man is a symbol of resilience, and I'm proud to stand with him today." Trump used the platform to advocate for transparency in scholarship programs nationwide, proposing reforms to ensure opportunities were awarded based solely on merit. Elijah's story caught the attention of numerous organizations. Within days, he received invitations to mentorship programs, offers for internships at top engineering firms, and additional scholarships from institutions eager to support his journey. One prominent engineering university offered him a full scholarship, along with access to their advanced research lab. Elijah's dream of becoming an aerospace engineer was no longer a distant goal but a tangible reality. In Pinehurst, the ripple effect of Elijah's triumph was evident. The community, once divided, began to unite in support of fairness and equality. Former skeptics approached Elijah and his family, expressing regret for not speaking out earlier. One such neighbor, an elderly woman who had long been an ally of the mayor, approached Elijah during a neighborhood event. "I was wrong," she admitted, her voice trembling. "You've shown us what real character looks like. Thank you for opening our eyes." As Elijah rose, Mayor Tate's world continued to crumble. Following his resignation, he faced legal consequences for embezzlement and fraud. The town council, under pressure from residents, implemented reforms to ensure transparency and accountability in future scholarship decisions. Tate's name, once a symbol of power, became a cautionary tale for those who sought to abuse their authority. The ceremony honoring Elijah wasn't just about his scholarship, it was a celebration of the town's transformation. Residents, inspired by Elijah's story, committed to fostering a culture of inclusivity and fairness. Community leaders introduced new initiatives, including mentorship programs for underprivileged youth and town hall meetings to address systemic bias. Elijah's former detractors found themselves reflecting on their own biases, with many taking active steps to learn and grow. Standing in front of his childhood home, now surrounded by reporters, Elijah looked out at the town that had once overlooked him. He didn't see division or doubt, he saw unity and hope. "This isn't just about a scholarship," he said, holding the certificate proudly. "It's about building a world where every kid, no matter where they come from, has the chance to achieve their dreams." The camera flashes lit up his face, capturing a moment that would inspire countless others. As Pinehurst turned a new page, Elijah became not just a symbol of resilience but a beacon of change, proving that even in the face of adversity, justice and determination could prevail. The sun dipped low over Pinehurst, casting a golden glow on the town square where Elijah stood, looking out at the gathering of friends, family, and supporters. A week had passed since his victory, but the weight of the journey still sat heavily in his chest. He had overcome more than a rejection. He had faced systemic prejudice and emerged stronger. As Elijah addressed the crowd, his voice was filled with emotion. "I can't thank you all enough for standing with me," he began. "This wasn't just about a scholarship. It was about proving that talent, hard work, and determination should always be what matters most." He turned to his mother, Denise, whose unwavering support had been his anchor. "Mom, you taught me to never let anyone tell me what I can't do. This is for you." Elijah also acknowledged those who had joined his fight, his teachers, the journalists, and the neighbors who had found their voices when it mattered most. "Together we've shown that change starts with people who are willing to stand up and speak out," he said, earning cheers from the crowd. In a pre-recorded message played on a screen set up in the square, Trump offered his final words on the matter. Standing against the backdrop of the Capitol, he spoke directly to the people of Pinehurst and beyond. "Elijah's story is one of resilience and courage," Trump said, his tone resolute. "It's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to stand against prejudice and fight for what's right. This isn't just about one boy or one town. It's about creating a world where every young person has the chance to succeed based on their merit." He ended his statement with a challenge to leaders across the nation. "Let's ensure that stories like Elijah's inspire us to do better, to be better, and to leave behind a legacy of fairness and opportunity for the next generation." The following week, Elijah prepared for his move to college. His scholarship and the additional offers he received had made his dream of studying engineering a reality. Standing in his bedroom, packing the last of his belongings, he paused to glance at the framed photo of his late father. "We did it, Dad," he whispered, feeling a wave of pride and gratitude. As he loaded the final box into the car, neighbors gathered to send him off. Some brought handwritten notes of encouragement, while others offered hugs and handshakes. Even those who had once been silent spectators now stepped forward to express their support. Pinehurst, too, had begun to change. The town council introduced new scholarship guidelines to ensure fairness and transparency. Workshops on diversity and inclusivity were held at the community center, drawing attendees from all walks of life. The scholarship program itself was renamed in Elijah's honor, serving as a permanent reminder of his courage and perseverance. As the car pulled away from Pinehurst, Elijah leaned back and closed his eyes. He thought about the journey that had brought him to this moment, the rejection, the fight, the support from unexpected places, and the lessons he had learned. "This isn't the end," he said softly. "It's just the beginning." His words echoed the spirit of the town itself, which was learning to embrace change and move forward together. The story ends not just with Elijah's triumph, but with the promise of a brighter, more inclusive future for Pinehurst and beyond, a powerful testament to the strength of resilience, the necessity of justice, and the transformative power of unity.